about remembering the good, remembering the things that are helpful to us. You see, so many times in life, there's negative things that happen to us. Maybe a bad childhood, maybe a divorce, some negative words have been spoken in your life. And those are the things we don't want to remember. We want to remember what is beneficial and what is good. Have you ever been mowing the lawn or maybe washing the dishes, driving down the street, and all of a sudden a memory from the past hits your thoughts? Man, it came out of nowhere. Or maybe something that had happened 2 weeks ago at work just kind of runs right into your thought life, and it makes you feel sad or lonely, depressed. Maybe those negative thoughts made you even feel fear for a moment, fear of what would happen in the future. You see, that's what negative thoughts do to our life. They stop us. They're intended to cause us to pause, to not walk in faith and victory. So that's why I want to encourage us so much to remember what we're remembering. Let's remember the good. The apostles wrote many times in the New Testament, they wrote things like this: I am writing to remind you. I am writing to remind you again. Paul put it this way. He said, I never get tired of reminding you. In 2 Peter, Peter said this. He says, I'm writing you two letters to remind you. You see, they knew the power in remembering the right thing. They knew that it could transform your life when you remembered what God has said and when you remember what God has done. See, we need to remember. It's easy to put our minds on autopilot, but we have to know that there's transforming power, and it's worth using our time and energy to focus on what we're remembering. The Old Testament, God commanded his people, the children of Israel, he commanded them to take time out from their busy schedules several times a year to celebrate. Festivals, he called them, times of remembrance. See, he wanted them to stop to celebrate what he had done. Now, can I tell you this? This wasn't a suggestion by God. It wasn't something that was optional. God required them to take time to stop and remember the miracles. How he parted the Red Sea, how he brought water out of the rock, how manna came down from heaven. He wanted them to pause and remember the wonders that he had done, the marvelous deeds that he had performed. You know why he wanted them to do that? Because they're a lot like us today. They get busy doing life. And sometimes when we're so busy doing life, we have a tendency to forget. And in that busyness and in those struggles and in those places of trying to make things happen, we find ourselves thinking, if I don't make this happen, it's not going to happen. I got to get this done. I got to do this. I got to do that. And we struggle and we struggle and we forget. We forget who's in control. We forget who we can depend on. We forget who can do things that we can't do. We forget the miracles that God has done in our life. So often, we forget what we should remember: our victories, our success, the good times. You see, some people feel guilty if they're having fun. Sometimes we remember what we should forget: the pain, the heartache, the loneliness. You see, we can't allow the things of the past to control our life. God doesn't remember those past mistakes. He doesn't even remember the things that people spoke into your life. All he knows is he wants you to move forward today. He wants you to remember the good. Remember what he has done. See, when we don't use the power of remembrance for our favor, then it weakens our life. Let's remember the good so that we can strengthen our life. We need to choose to rewrite our history. Now you say, how do you do that? These things really happen. And Victoria, you're saying I should be in denial? No, I'm not saying you should be in denial. I'm saying you should choose your pieces to create your God's story. You create your God's story. You don't have to let your past create the story and the history for you. God has already done away with your past. The only way not to let that past be the past is to not live in the past. You see, you can't live in the past if you want to get away from your past. You have to understand today is your future. The past is the past, but today is your future. What are you going to remember? What story are you creating for your life? See, the psalmist said, I remember what the Lord has done. I remember his marvelous works. Why? Because he had to bring something that was from the past, which was a miracle, how God had helped him before. He had to bring it into the future so that he could get through the difficult time he was going through. So he could get through any doubt or any unbelief that was trying to stop him. See, that's our choice today. We can either take a piece of the God story and bring it into our future, or we can take a piece of something